Why is Bitcoin down right now? The truth is, nobody really knows, but also that's actually normal that oftentimes for the best performing assets in the world, it's not 100% clear why the stock market or the precious metals market or Bitcoin is doing exactly what it's doing. I'll tell you in a minute how you can find out or at least make a best guess. But if you look at the 10 best performing assets in the last 10 years, that is the Magnificent Seven stocks, which is Apple, Amazon, Tesla, Google, Facebook, Nvidia, and one more that I'm forgetting. You can Google it. Magnificent Seven stocks. Those 7 stocks plus gold and silver plus Bitcoin. So 2 precious metals, gold and silver, 1 Bitcoin, and 7 of the best performing stocks, which is called the Magnificent Seven. If you look at those 10 assets, 7 stocks, 2 precious metals, and 1 digital commodity, Bitcoin, which is money. If you look at those, over the last 10 years, there will be long periods of months or even years for each of those assets where it's not exactly clear why the stock price is doing what it's doing. Now, with some of those assets, it is clear. The price will move based on an earnings report where Tesla will blow out the profit as compared to what everybody expected, and the stock goes up because they blew out the profit. Any one of those companies can report earnings that are much more favorable than anticipated, and the stock price goes up. Or recently, you've seen the price of gold run up because central banks are trying to get off of the U.S. dollar as a reserve currency, and they're buying gold instead. So we know why gold is up, because central banks don't trust their own currency. So instead of stockpiling their own currencies, they're stockpiling gold. This is all the countries, Japan, China, and all that, instead of buying U.S. Treasury bills and U.S. government debt and U.S. dollars with their currency as a reserve asset, they are buying gold instead, which tells you everything you should need to know about what central banks think about fiat currency, which is government-made-up currency. Given the choice between buying someone else's government fiat currency and buying gold, central banks are buying gold. Now, one day they'll be buying Bitcoin, but Bitcoin is still too new and still too small for most central banks. They just can't buy Bitcoin in the tens of billions of dollars, at a time in a given day. The liquidity is not deep enough. The asset, as the total size of the asset is just too small and it's just too new. They're just not comfortable with it. But again, so sometimes with the Magnificent Seven stocks, with gold, with silver, or with Bitcoin, sometimes you know exactly why the price is doing what it's doing, but oftentimes you don't. And in the times you don't, the best thing you can do is just Google the asset. If you Google the word Bitcoin, you'll see news headlines. And sometimes those news headlines from credible news organizations will give you some insights into why the price is doing what it's doing. Same with gold, same with silver, same with the Magnificent Seven stocks. If you Google Tesla or if you Google Amazon stock or, whatever, you will get some news headlines that indicate why it's doing what it's doing. Or if you go in the Stocks app, STOCKS, the Stocks app in your iPhone or your Android phone, and you look up gold or silver or one of the Magnificent Seven stocks or Bitcoin, it will give you news feeds that tell you headlines, and you can read the articles about why each of those assets is doing what it's doing. So sometimes you know, but sometimes you don't. Even when you do that, even if you go on Twitter and you follow all the people that, are constantly tweeting about gold or silver or Bitcoin or Amazon or Microsoft or Tesla stock, whatever, oftentimes you will go on there and it's still not clear. So even with Google, even with Twitter, and even if you go on, there's always YouTube videos where people are pretending to have, special insight into why any asset is up or down. And you can ask ChatGPT or any other AI engine like Grok. You can just say, hey, why is the Bitcoin price up or down? And it'll give you a solid, good reason of why it thinks, based on everything that's read on the internet, why the price is up or down. So sometimes and sometimes you don't. Sometimes for weeks, months, or even years at a time, it will just not be clear why a stock is languishing, even though the fundamentals of that stock are the strongest they've ever been. And Bitcoin's in one of those places for the last couple months. For the last couple months, Bitcoin has been below its all-time high. Right now, it is 30% below its all-time high. And if you look at Google and Twitter and YouTube and ChatGPT, it will say a bunch of things. Global liquidity is really tight right now. The amount of debt in the system compared to the amount of dollars to pay it off is not in favor of people paying off their debts. So what do people do when they're tight and they're trying to save their house, they're trying to save their car, they're trying to save their business? They sell the assets they can, not necessarily the ones they want to. So there are people getting liquidated on Bitcoin because they're being forced to sell it to save a business. And they didn't think that was going to happen, but when that happens, it pushes the price of Bitcoin down. So there's a lot of people trying to bail themselves out right now with whichever assets they have, and Bitcoin is an asset they have, and it's appreciated substantially, and therefore they're selling some to try to save whatever it is they're trying to save, foreclosure on their house or whatever it is. U.S. government is lowering interest rates, which prints more money. The Bank of Japan is raising interest rates. There's this thing called the yen carry trade. A lot of people have been borrowing Japanese yen, converting them to dollars, investing in the stock market and in other things, gold, silver, Bitcoin, everything. And that only works if the interest rates in Japan are way less than the interest rates in the United States. As soon as those interest rates are not less, the whole thing starts to unwind. Well, Japan's interest rates are climbing while the U.S. interest rates are dropping, which is putting the squeeze on people doing that carry trade. So that's part of the reason. Also, there's a lot of people that just chase momentum. So whatever's going up fastest is what they invest in. It's a bad way to try to make money because you always end up investing in things when they're high and then selling them when they're crashed out and low. But anyway, so a lot of money is chasing AI with companies like NVIDIA. A lot of money is chasing gold and silver right now because those prices are on a tear. And it pulls money out of Bitcoin. Even if Bitcoin is the better asset, people look at their options and they say, hey, gold and silver are moving, Bitcoin is not moving, I'll just chase that. Again, bad long-term strategy. People lose, huge amounts of money chasing momentum like that because you end up investing in the wrong things at the wrong times and selling the right things at the wrong times to chase something that's got momentum. And as soon as, Bitcoin has momentum again, they'll all come piling back in and it'll drive the price way higher. But, we got to be patient and stuff like that takes time. So anyway, if you research a million different things, you'll find a million different reasons why Bitcoin's price is doing what it's doing. At the end of the day, what matters is fundamentals. It is the soundest money. It is the most divisible, durable, portable, fungible, authenticatable, and scarce thing that exists in the universe. Those are the ideal properties of money. Bitcoin is the ideal money, or it's the ideal digital property, if you follow Michael Saylor and his thesis on that. And regardless, eventually it will be in much, infinitely much higher demand than it is right now, and the price will eventually reflect that. In the meantime, same advice as always, buy as much Bitcoin as you can, hold on to it for as long as conceivably possible. Sometimes we know why things are on sale, sometimes we don't. If it's a solid asset, buy as much of it as you can regardless. That advice doesn't change. And it's the same advice as I've been giving everyone forever. Buy as much as you can, hold on to it for as long as conceivably possible.